Ashuang Pepe rubbed his eyes and looked around again. It was still the beige room. Somehow, after waking up today, Zafuan Pepe felt for the first time that the burden in his heart was reduced a lot, and the entanglement of those tangled into a ball of thread also became simple. And now that she has understood the purpose of a second attempt and has made up her mind to protect herself, Ishuang Pepe deeply understands that this motivation will support her for a long, long time. The tip of the nose vaguely smelled the aroma of Maggie frying ham downstairs, and Zhejiang Paihi took the corners of his mouth, which was some hungry. Peter went down the stairs when he was ready and found the pumpkin already washed and standing on the porch. She startled, smiled, and asked, "Taya, already up, Taya?" Blaran Paipi nodded. Suddenly my head flashed and all the words were swallowed in my stomach. Alas, the life of being dumb is not easy at all. When Peter led Sean Pipi downstairs, Maggie also said with some surprise speed she woke up by herself. Thank God, Tim really needs to learn from her. Thanks a lot. When it comes to Tim, you can see Maggie has a lot of doting in her eyes. The mother's feelings for her son, always with feminine tenderness, may also have a small dependence. On the contrary, Peter did not have such a good attitude. He put Zafong Paisty into the seat after a snort in the nose. Stinky Boy went away for nearly 2 weeks on a phone call back. Play No Soul also said what to work in the summer. You look at it. He came back and certainly want to head into the band. Do not ask me for money to buy instruments is good. Saxio Ko. Speaking of musical instruments, Kwang Peti P was at first a little curious why Maggie and Peter can see so much music equipment in the house. There was a black piano in the living room, and Peter actually had his own piano room with an electric organ and 2 or 3 acoustic guitars. It was only after listening to their conversation these days that it became clear that Peter was a music teacher in a nearby middle school who also opened classes privately. Just because of the arrival of Zashran and Petsaipi, Peter has all the family students as classes scheduled for the next week in order to spend more time with her. Maggie made a simple breakfast with fried eggs on everyone's plate, bacon and ham slices, and Quan Ki P's most hated cauliflower. Seeing the pumpkin's contemptuous look at the broccoli, Maggie laughed and joked, "Tay, how come you don't like broccoli any more than Tim does? Do you know what happens to kids who don't eat broccoli? Teach say." Peter then lowered his voice. "D kids who don't finish their broccoli grow up with green faces, just like the ones in Frankenstein." He deliberately demonstrated the monster's expression. Just like that, provoke Dosalong Peepee's poo falls to laugh out. Although the trick of intimidating children is old-fashioned, but to see 2 couples who walk in the fashion front of the 90s these days, they try to play treasure in front of her, and the heart is cold, it will be some move. What's more, this feeling of being held in the palm of her hand is very delicate for Zafong Purpi. It is because there is no experience, so there is a fresh feeling. This feeling is undoubtedly good. Dahuan Paipi finally took the scalp to eat cauliflower. Maggie clapped for her. Peter proudly took credit for his wife. They almost pulled their age to 5 years old. Let Dahuan Paipi helpless, but also smile comfortable. She had not socialized with the couple in the previous life, and this time she was eager to spend some time with them. Since we already know that it is a short stay, it is better to enjoy these tenderness, but still not talkative since you're not used to talking like a 5-year-old, so shut up. After breakfast, Peter went to work according to the custom. He picked up the lunchbox prepared by Maggie and kissed his wife on the cheek. He also planned to kiss Safon Paipi on the forehead, but she avoided. This kind of middle-aged man's enthusiasm, Sakran Pipe he cannot accept for a while, and he is not really only 5 years old. Peter did not mind, smiled, and patted Zafon Pipe on the head before leaving. He told Maggie T, "I just saw her staring at my coffee a little bit. Why not give her a cup of milk tea after Mrs. Chin had promised to come over. Maggie took Kwang Pp to the television, put on the Sesame Street tape, poured a glass of milk in front of her, and went back to tidy the room. These days, watching the Muppet called Jorai Elmo Dits in Sesame Street, jumping in front of the television, Dason Ppt has been about to vomit blood. Her patience was never strong, and she could not bear to waste her time on this. Prashant P jumped off the sofa and ran to Maggie, pointing out the door. Hang, T. When your parents named you, did you ever think you'd have an aunt screaming your name like a pig? Maggie knowingly laughed. Day, are you asking QN? Hang, dang. He's gonna have to wait, day. Hang, day. After more pigs chirped, Maggie finally got through to Mrs. Chin's house. About half an hour later, Mrs. Chin appeared outside the house with her young son. She smiled and let QN, Hang, and Maggie explain. Tara just sent QN you to school. Tay. After discovering that Pumpkin liked to talk to the Chinese boy across the street at the barbecue party, Maggie and Peter asked Mrs. Net to bring their son over sometime, and Mrs. QN also thought that talking with Maggie could help her learn some English and learn about life in the United States. Mrs. QN's English is not good because it is a new immigrant's sake. The words are one by one, cannot say a word. I can see that QN Hang is very sensible, not only to be mother's translator, but also Zafar Peipi's imperial translator. To say that children should be fresh and not so obedient, but QN Hang is very dedicated, always smiling. Never saw him have an impatient expression. Then Hang excitedly ran over and said, "Dee sister me, let's watch Sesame Street together." Okay, Dee, good for you. But under the roof, you have to lower your head. Because she pretended not to understand English, the only person Zawon PP could communicate with was the 4 and a half-year-old Chinese child. Bok PP pulled him to sit in front of the television, pretending to watch the screen with Kua and Hang, and whispered, "Swappy, why don't you go to kindergarten, Taffy?" Nan Hang's big round eyes kept staring at the screen. "Fair, I have my brother at home." My brother said, "Kindergarten is not fun. Let me accompany my mother." Anyway, everyone says, my brother is a genius, and I must be right, Derry. Chonin PSD asked, do you know what Maggie does? Huh? Abel K and Hang turned his head and looked at her puzzled. Do you want me to ask her for you? Date. No, I was just asking. Joseph Wanjing Pippi quickly waved his hand. The conversation just stopped. Zotwan Paifi sighed in the heart completely. Do not know how to continue to communicate with a child. Prejo Wang PP, those trivial memories, did not have this little Asian Tai. His beautiful mother, Ice Cube, brother, did not. Not surprisingly, she didn't remember much about Maggie or Peter, let alone what Tim looked like. Time is too short, too young, and later treatment, Zafon Paipi is helpless. Come on, man's memory is limited.
Nan Fang still looked at Sesame Street with a serious face. They had Elmo, laughed Steve, turning his head. He looked at Soshwan Paipi beside him with an absent mind. Did look T6 humming. Sister, what happened to you? T.
Bakawang Padpi barely squeezed the corners of his mouth. T number 4 poo. Rain Hang stared at her face and looked again. Sahon Pasifi was a little embarrassed. Don't look at your aunt with adoring eyes, okay? Auntie was seen wanting to commit a crime. The little girl with delicate skin and tender flesh was really popular. Sachong P shook his hair and got up in his heart. It's not a crime to hook up with a little girl, is it? Why do you keep staring at me? Deza Swan Pei pursed his lips and pretended to be tender. Did you want to kiss again? Daze. No. Kieran Hang quickly covered his mouth. His face rose red. My brother said, "You are ugly. I just want to see what ugly looks like." Key. Buggy Wong Pimpi corners of the mouth for a long time did not stop. Severely crossed eyes. Kuazan Hang. When it comes to QIU, that stinky boy Zasuung Pepe will not hit a place. From the day of the barbecue party, she never felt comfortable when she met QAN UO. She's obviously very deliberately not in front of others to show the fact that she can understand English, but sometimes it is difficult to hide the light in her eyes when adults mention themselves. Who knew that day at the party QAN, you shouted at her in English in front of everyone. Hey, you have barbecue sauce on your butt, Day. Anyone will subconsciously look back at their clothes. Bodoagna Pihi clearly remembered the smile on Yu's face at that time, and he immediately switched back to Chinese to say, "Sir, you are very similar." That kind of squinting eyes and age does not match the sneer lets a Shuang PP hate tooth root itch. And a few days ago, he and Qin hang together to her house. Originally, Zahuan Pai Tepi has been very careful to hide from QI and Yu for fear of the spooky Zasenstu and make what tricks to make fun of themselves. She really did not want to have any contact with QI and Yu, but the result. Strange, also strange, assigning PP himself crazy, looking at QN, hang meat, toot, small face in front of himself, is too cute, too like, can you not help but. A kiss Q and Hang covering the small mouth has not reacted. Even Zafanyi Petbi are too late to rejoice in the success of flirting, was suddenly pulled up from behind and severely threw her to the ground. The yard is concrete. Zhahuan Feipi suddenly batopping like a flower half ring, did not slow down when she stared and then tried to get up. Qian Yu actually sat on her. He stared into Zashang Pati's eyes for half a moment, raised his eyebrows, and asked slowly, "Tize, did you kiss my brother just now?" Feta. So what Namesaful Shuang PP really did not think that he was pushed to the ground by a child, so he touched it, is to make her responsible. He did not answer or move. Chuan Penisai was on fire, lived 25 years when was a man hit and mounted on him, and still a little kid. She tried to push QNU down, but this only found that the 5-year-old himself is how weak and small. QNU sat firmly on her stomach, did not move.